to move that we continue the same slate of officers. Ms. McDonald as chair, Ms. Schauf as vice chair, myself as secretary, and Mr. Bailey as treasurer.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Any reports of officers or directors?
I did want to just highlight briefly some updates related to the Greenmont area in general for some of the projects that are being worked on in that area. So the Greenmont pedestrian bridge, we do have 90% construction plans that we've reviewed and made comments from our engineer approval at end of March, beginning of April, with the notice of award following thereafter in about a 45-day construction period once they get a notice to proceed. So we're looking sometime in the spring, late spring, early summer for completion of the pedestrian bridge project. The park and green space, we have HRG Landscape working on 2 concept plans, and we will be bringing samples. We're looking at some boring samples to determine the need for a retaining wall in that area, and we hope to be bringing those concepts back in probably about 45 days to this board as well as the neighborhood. Our improvements in the Pennsylvania Avenue area, the street, are along that same timeline as well. So I just wanted to provide some updates on the project.
So you're working on the streetscape independently of that? Oh, cool. Okay. Thank you.
Can I just one more item, if I just from a structure standpoint, if it is not a big deal to the board, if I can make a recommendation that we move the report of officers and directors to after matters of business. That way, just want to ensure that we have an opportunity to talk about all the business, and then I'm not repeating anything that isn't planned for business from a order of operations standpoint, if we could do that going forward.
Sure, thanks.
Great, thank you.
All right, report of committees. Yes.
Madam President, one other additional note, just there is the copy of the treasurer's report in your packet from our finance director. Just as a note, the United Bank checking account has a balance of $1231.25 of $116,271.61, and a community bank checking account balance of $9,369.36 for a total of $125,640.97.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next time.
That's right. I'll practice.
All right. So the Property Management Committee met last month. We looked at a few more things on the process of figuring out what happens when properties come to us. I think the staff is going to go back and make a few changes to what they've put together. They're going to run a few test properties through that process to make sure it works, and then they're going to get approval from Ryan for anything that requires legal oversight. And we're going to see that next month for presentation to the board. Do any other committees meet? No. Okay. All right. So report of staff.
Start it off.
Sure. So I was kind of asked to give a summary of the Greenmont neighborhood community visiting session. I actually did print off a little discussion summary that I can hand around just so y'all have the pictures handy and stuff too. Actually, can I have one too?
There you go.
Yeah, so I think it was informative, and I think it was a good session. We had pretty good attendance too. What I think we gleaned from that was that there was some openness to like multi-unit housing, especially when projects were taking into consideration the density and the scale. There was a comment that described wanting to kind of blend, or almost described like gradiating density up from Deckers Creek and in towards Brockway, if that makes sense. A lot of people emphasize the importance of managing those transitions in density, and in terms of aesthetics, people were generally kind of more interested in like craftsman inspired and cottage style designs. We showed them a lot of pictures of different housing typologies, and then we asked them to kind of vote on those different typologies and then kind of vote on the aesthetics of some of those as well. That one of the overwinter cafe or coffee was the most popular case study that we had. And then the senior housing townhomes was also a popular one as well. So those were the ones that got received the most positively. And I think that was kind of informative in terms of what the neighborhood is looking like, what they feel like the character of the neighborhood is, and how they want to see that continue to be represented going forward. And I think it was a good time to just air some concerns and stuff too. So, yeah. That is stuff that we can all incorporate into the development of the prospectus as well. I think that we have sort of outlined all of that information and what, where that can fit into there. I think that's going to be an important part of like why Greenmont, why choose Greenmont, right? There's this very active neighborhood association, and they have a lot of interest in what happens to the neighborhood in the future. So anyway, that's kind of the summary of the session. I feel like it was really informative, and I felt like it was good vibes, and the neighborhood was receptive. I didn't get any emails or anything after the fact with any lingering comments about that, but yeah, I think that document sort of distills what the essence of the conversation was. So yeah.
Where did you meet?
We met at Jones United Methodist Church in Greenmont because Jean's was a little too small.
What was the attendance?
I don't remember the exact count off the top of my head, but I would say we had about 20, right, at least?
20, 25, it was pretty good.
Some of them were my students that were sitting in for extra credit, but you know, it was nice to have them participate a little bit too. But yeah, it was a good representation from the neighborhood association, and then I think a few people who were just concerned about green space preservation in general. Rick Landenberger was there from Mon Valley Green Space Coalition, and so yeah, I think it was decently well attended. We could always do better on that, you know, but we got some good feedback.
And so the lady that had approached us from the nonprofit in Ohio that does development, she checked back in with us, and I gave her the summary, and she said she would talk about this with her group and see how that would fit into their application. I haven't heard back from her since on that. I need to check back in with her and just see where that stands, because I'd be curious to know, like, is this even possible with their model? Like, can they keep the character that everybody thinks is so important with the developments that they do? I don't know. I feel like that's...
Some of the larger scale ones, it seemed that the larger scale examples that we did, like those low-rise apartment complexes and some mixed-use housing, it seemed like the primary concern was an environmental conditions concern. They were worried about the slope and the impact on green space and the creek and things like that, and they couldn't maybe even visualize how that was feasible on such a steep slope. I wonder if some of that wouldn't be some of those concerns wouldn't be eased if they were able to see more renderings and kind of understand how that would happen.
Yeah, I thought so
I think
too.
it was just hard to visualize how that could be in that area.
Right.
So.
I mean, generally to me, it seemed like it was an aesthetics thing and like character and environmental concerns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the big hesitation that came up, was like, how does this impact the amount of green space that we have, and how does this impact the creek and things like that? So, which is good. I'm glad that they're worried about that. So,
yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I just have one quick note. I have been working on some outreach across the region for some similar agencies and organizations. They are kind of varying in their degree of authority, urban redevelopment authorities, land banks, things like that, but they all have the same similar scope and mission. I've been working on some outreach to try to initiate some conversations similar to those that happened with the city of Nitro and the city of Charleston. I have a couple that I think I have on the hook. One of them has penciled in to be on the May agenda. I'll be confirming with them once I confirm. She's confirming with one other person right now. I'll be meeting with them internally because they asked for a little bit of additional information prior to presenting to the board. But other than that, I've got a couple of other prospects, and then I'm still waiting on responses from the rest.
Cool, thank you.
And lastly, there are 2 new tenants at the 430 Spruce Center building. And we're actually working, and Ryan and I have been actually in communication with Black Diamond for another tenant that's going to be occupying 2 additional spaces. So really it's been a pleasure to work with Jeff Stanger at Black Diamond. He's really done a good job, I think, of putting it out there. We only have a few spaces left inside the office building on the 2nd floor. So
That's awesome.
Appreciate everybody's efforts.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
May I just ask a follow-up question? You mentioned the prospectus, and I don't know if now is a good time to have a conversation about next steps and path forward on that, or if we'd like to handle that later in the meeting. But I'd like to
So we
talk
have
little bit about that.
a lot of progress made on that prospectus. I just don't know that we had a compiled draft ready that was good for the board to review, but we have outlined, I think, everything that needs to be within that document and have made done most of the heavy lifting when it comes to that stuff. Seth has done a really great job of compiling all this demographic information. I think we want to get it to a point where it's a little more graphically friendly for people. We have a lot of maps that we've made in effort, sort of for that community visioning session, but I think a couple of those plus a few additional ones would be helpful for the prospectus effort. We intend to outline major employers and highlight WVU as a higher education. So we've got some pages set aside for that just need a little bit more fluff. We can put in the information from the community visioning session, and then we want some pictures of the parcels and things like that. Some really nice, like, on-the-ground photos, and honestly, the weather just hasn't really been that favorable for doing that. But there's been there's time to do that. So we just need to get, I think, some pictures and things like that. But I think we are at a good state, but we can certainly share some more progress. I think I would like to get some opinions on that too. And we did, have a good, I think, meeting after that community visioning session, talking about what's important to put in the prospectus and how do we highlight Greenmont as a place where people would want to develop.
So have you guys reached out to Russ at the partnership for whatever data he has? Because I think they do this stuff all the time, so they should have
I
a generic
have not,
level.
no, I did not.
But we spoke about like including the amount of the visits are coming to downtown and the reports that he had pulled out and presented to council. So we're going to incorporate some.
Yeah, we did think and touch on that, but yeah, we haven't officially reached out to him, but yeah,
I'm
we can
just thinking
certainly.
in terms of like not reinventing the wheel, all of the generic
No, that's-
Morgantown data he should have.
That's a good idea. And we do have a lot of county data too, because we wanted to show like, here's what it looks like on the big scale. And then as you zoom in, here's even, so we have pulled a lot of that larger scale stuff, but that would be nice to get some more honed in like data and stuff too. So I'll make a note to reach out to him, and I will also make a note to add a lot of our progress and our outline onto the shared drive, because I think that'll help show some more information. So yeah.
And I certainly don't want to commit resources without having conversation, but I'd love to when we get closer to a point of where we want to put something on the market or put an RFP together or the path forward there. Love to talk with comms. Jordan has put together a couple of really great small videos, and it would be really nice to highlight with a small video this project.
Great.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's my other question, like, do you know what audience you're gonna put this out to?
We can pull that list together. We had talked about previously, like the West Virginia Housing Development Fund, they process all the low-income housing tax credit projects, so they'd be a wealth of information of who usually applies at the state level, and then we just from contacts, there's several folks we can pull in and get the prospectus out in front of people quickly.
Okay, I mean, if you could present the audience when you present the product, that would be good, I think, just so we know where it's
Yeah.
going.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that is a good thing that we need to maybe touch on with comms, and then we have an opportunity to, now that we're kind of at the tail end of some of the side lot disposition stuff too, we can start promoting some of that stuff too. So we have a couple maybe conversations that we need to have with them, so yeah.
What do you guys think about the timeline for the prospectus?
I think we had envisioned March, right, Ricky? So I think we're on pretty good track to have a draft in front of y'all by next meeting for sure. I think we could easily have a draft ready for you sooner to put on the shared drive and stuff and have something to talk about by next meeting.
Probably next 2 weeks,
Yeah.
at the latest, I would think.
If you do have a draft for us, could you just send us an email? Because
Yeah, of course.
we might need the
The
login
link to-
information again. for the shared drive.
Um,
Some people have not stored that dutifully, I'm sure.
No problem. But yeah, no, I think that's a realistic timeline too. I think we had envisioned March, and I think we're pretty on track for that, maybe even sooner, so yeah.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Thank you for that update.
All right, so next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. I just wanted to make one change under the report of committees. It says the property management committee met to review the side lot program. Feedback was received from the community. And the plans to reconvene to further discuss the program. I just think,
Should be from the committee, sorry about that.
yeah, I think so. There's a couple typos there or something, because it just didn't quite make sense.
Yes, noted.
Anyone else have any changes?
I'd move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And on to unfinished business.
So I apologize if it's not making it in your packet, but here's just a brief write-up of some of the unfinished business items as well as action items from staff and the board. I'll just touch on those briefly. From our last meeting, just to report 570 Pennsylvania, 635 Pennsylvania, and 637 Brockway have been demolished, seeded, and strawed. 300 Overdale Street and 121 Kingwood Street, both of which had submitted applications to the agency. The agency had reviewed and approved those, are on the ground. Unfortunately, we have not been able to take ownership of them, but they are on the ground. 612 Arlington Avenue, we are working with the gentleman who also submitted that application back in 2025. Unfortunately, we weren't able to close on that for probably several different reasons, but we are in the process of demolishing it. City Council at their last meeting approved an award to reclaim to take those properties down.
So all the ones you just talked about, we don't own any of them, right?
570, 635, and 637 we do own. The
Oh,
agency
okay.
does own. 300, 121, and 612 we do not.
Okay. Okay.
Related to action items for the board and staff, we still need to take a look at the Lower Greenmont initial needs assessment and the small area study and consult with Urban Design Ventures on that, and the timing would be appropriate for that. We also need to, there was discussion of one of the tasks was to explore affordable housing developer acumen for assembled properties, and as part of that, looking at best practices to address housing affordability issues in the community. I think we're taking a pause at least and try to develop a list of developers that we want to take a look at that property right now until we get the prospectus done, and then we will send that out and present that at the next meeting with the number of folks and the people that we intend to share the prospectus with. But just as a point of information as well, we've been moving forward with the housing affordability issues, and staff has presented to council some best practices for consideration to start addressing that issues, including looking at establishing ADUs, looking at creating an inclusionary zoning program that will provide for density bonus, and then looking to basically do a complete overhaul of the city's zoning ordinance and subdivision and land development ordinance as one of the ways we're going to deal with our housing affordability issues.
Did you present the overhaul, or are you just thinking about that?
Pardon me?
Did you present like a proposed overhaul, or are you just thinking about doing that?
No, we're actually working on the RFP in the upcoming month. So Seth is taking the lead on that project, and then we will put that out to bid and see what comes back.
And so your thought is if you redo it, it'll be friendlier for developing, or what?
Yeah, I mean, the comprehensive plan basically set forth a vision in 2023 to say this is how we think the community, should potentially grow over time, right? More density where it's contextually appropriate. And our zoning ordinances in some of our districts probably don't align with some of the recommendations of that comp plan now. So that's one of the reasons why we're moving forward with the update to the zoning ordinance.
So you put out an RFP and you ask somebody to give you a proposed revision to the code, is that how it
We
works?
bring in a consultant who will come in and do community engagement. They'll sit down and they'll look at the policies, the desire, where we want to be, and they'll propose updates to the ordinance and to council.
But it's an overhaul, and in years past, I think it's been more,
Piecemeal?
so.
So is that something you plan to do, or you just, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the timeline on that?
Once we get a consultant engaged, it'll probably be 8 to 12 months to go through that process.
Until they come back with a proposal?
To get it through from the initial planning stages to the adoption.
Oh, okay, cool.
Probably a year, depending on what kind of community engagement we have.
Okay.
And of course, that bid process adds another, couple of months onto that as well.
Mhm. Okay.
And that's all we have.
All right, thank you. All right, so in new business, we have an application to accept a donation at 726 College Avenue. Want to tell us a little bit about that property?
So the applicant is Melissa Baston and Linda Young. They are the property owners at 726 College Avenue. The property is located in R2 single and two-family residential district, and the parcel encompasses a little over 4,600 square feet of property on Gaston Avenue. The structure is currently vacant, condemned, and slated for demolition. Per our zoning code, section 1337, the parcel doesn't meet the minimum lot size requirements, so we would consider it a parcel of land as pre-existing non-conforming with respect to the zoning code. We checked with our finance department. There are no outstanding liens that are filed by the city on the property, but there is a fire fee that's due for the amount last year and was in your packet of $315.80. And according to the Mon County Assessor's website, the total appraised value of the property is $65,000.
So when you say non-conforming, pre-existing, does that mean someone can build on it now or no?
Through the non-conforming lot provisions, you can build on a non-conforming lot. You just have to make sure that anything you build is in compliance with the rest of the zoning code. So even though the lot's size is smaller, let's say the lot coverage, what you want to build on it would exceed the maximum requirement, you'd have to either get a variance or you wouldn't be able to do it, if that makes sense. So just
It
because
will be a
it's,
buildable lot.
pardon me,
It'll ultimately be a buildable lot, potentially.
you can build on it, but you'd have to get variance relief in order to develop on it, if it didn't meet the code requirements as permitted, as stated.
There are also some site access issues.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, do you think a bank would lend you money for that? That's a challenge, that's a challenge parcel.
It is.
So if we take this, what will we think we could do with it?
There's an adjacent occupied owner. There's actually two of them, and one of them's WVU. So,
Is it close to the trails back there or anything?
kind of, Falling Run Green Space is across the street, so,
So it could be parking or something maybe, or? There's no parking for that, like,
there's
trail
not,
system back
there's not
there.
any parking for it. It could be that, potentially. I mean, there would have to be a trail down and then a crossing over the street into the green space, so that would be kind of complicated. Not ideal maybe, but
Okay, what are you saying over there?
I think it's hard to see the topography on that map, but this parcel should front on Gaston Avenue, which has been annulled by the city with some right to reestablish that right-of-way as needed. Current ability to access that parcel would only be over WVU property after coming off of North High Street and crossing a parcel that's occupied by, I think, a fraternity house.
Does it give you guys any concern that it would be a liability? I mean, it's pretty well hidden, it's off the beaten path, and all of a sudden it'd be city property. I mean, does that give you concerns? No more than any of the other.
I don't have great liability concerns for it. The city is in the process of demolishing the structure. It's
You're already onto that.
It is under contract to be demolished.
Okay.
So if you divided it sort of on the property lines, part of it would go back into a tax-paying, part of it would go to WVU possibly, and part of it would go to a tax-paying entity, right? Or no?
What would,
So if it abuts other properties, parts of it WVU, some of it are non-WVU, right?
correct.
So if you gave that parcel, if you just elongated their lot, that would at least make it a tax-paying entity.
that
You
would
sub-
make it fall under like our side lot adoption
Right,
model
correct.
essentially.
Right,
Yeah, and we would be
right.
making an offer to those adjacent property owners and seeing if they want to place a bid on it.
I mean, it's hard to tell from this picture, like, would somebody want this as their adjacent property, do you think?
It is, in terms of accessibility, challenged.
I mean, to me, it's like, we don't want to just take things because they're offered, because somebody needs to get out of their, like, own personal liabilities. I'm a little wary of doing that. If it's not useful, and no one's going to want it.
Well, the city would have to cut it. and maintain it.
Yeah, we're just taking on a liability then. And if you're already gonna take down the monstrosity that is that old house,
Right, the
then.
blight is already
Yeah,
going,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
gone.
Yeah, I mean,
It's gone.
I'm not sure. I'm not necessarily inclined. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's the type of thing, if you gave it to WVU and they were gonna cut it and that sort of thing, it would make sense. And I think if it was a family that might be on there and they could use that side lot, that might be fine. If it's a rental property, they may not. I mean, I'd hate to have, you know, the city to have to, another lot that they have to mow, something else they have to check, and that kind of stuff. I mean, if it makes sense that, you know, the people around it are gonna take care of it and it's gonna look nicer than it is now, and not costing the city anything.
Well, and this makes me wonder if, you know, if we have our process for how we're dealing with properties, I mean, you could theoretically approach all of these adjoining property owners right now and say, do you want this? And if everyone says no, then we don't take it. We don't have to take it first and then see if they want it, right? What if we try that?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
I mean, you talked about running this through your process and seeing how you liked the, you know, the flow of things.
Yeah, this could be the first, yeah, for sure.
Maybe you just go ahead and contact them and see what they say.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's a good thought, and certainly we could see if there's interest, you know, before making a commitment. Yeah. The other side of it is like green space preservation, I guess, but
But I
yeah,
just
not
feel like
really.
random green space is not helpful.
No, it's not. I
We
mean,
want it to be accessible green space that can be used by the community.
Yeah.
As part of a bigger picture.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah, why don't we make some effort in reaching out to adjacent property owners first and see what happens?
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds
What
good.
did you say about the address? Because I know it says it's on College Avenue, but it looks like it's on Gaston.
It's on
It is.
Gaston.
It is
yeah.
on Gaston. Oh, is that?
That's what the address is assigned to.
Okay.
Because that's the primary access point.
I believe it's no longer addressed as, or it's not addressed as Gaston because
What?
Gaston Avenue has been annulled in front of it, even though that's what looks like the frontage.
So there's no access to the property?
There's a
There's no
staircase, I think, right? There's a stairway, but
That's right.
no vehicle access.
That's right.
Yes. All right, so we'll make inquiries.
That look you just gave us the same thing the banker's gonna say.
Ryan already made it earlier, it's just going down the line here. All right.
And certainly, I guess the question is if WVU, for example, wanted this property, we wouldn't have to serve as the middleman. This property could be donated directly from the property.
That is a
owner
good
to
point.
WVU, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's probably your best chance of having it mowed. I mean, really, I mean, once you get that down, it probably would look nicer if we can get but sending your all's folks out, it's another checker box we gotta do.
Yeah, this is a WVU dorm right in front of it here. It's like Lincoln Hall or whatever that one's called. So,
No action taken.
Right.
All right.
All right, so I now move that we move into executive session to discuss potential acquisition of property.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we will not be coming out for additional.